What's up, everybody? Hope everyone doing very well. My name is Jesse Hughes, and I know it's been a minute since the last time I got on this platform, got on here, and hopefully that this will not be the last time that I get on here. But I want to tell you a little story that happened to myself and that happened to some people that was connected to me. On August the 22nd, my life and others' lives was changed drastically. My life and thousands of people's life was affected by an incident that happened at a job that I was working at. Around 12:45, around 12:50, our life was changed to the point of, what will we do next? How will we go by making a living? How will we go by taking care of our family and our friends? Around 12:45, 12:50, there was an explosion that happened at my job, and I noticed that there was some fire that was coming out of one of the tanks, and I began to evacuate the people, make sure that they were safe, make sure that they were out of the building. And as I began to leave the building, I began to call 911, and I began to tell them that there was a 52F, that there was a fire, a structural fire that was happening at Smitty's, Incorporated, and I began to direct the traffic on Highway 51 at the place where I was working at. But I'll look back over my life and I say, Lord, I thank you for I was able to not only assist, but I was able to, make sure that hundreds of people were saved, hundreds of people were out of the building, hundreds of people were out of the plant, and they were able to make it home to their wives, make it home to their husbands, make it home to their kids, their grandparents, their parents, make it home safely. And I'm the type of person that I didn't do it because I wanted to be a hero. I didn't want to do it because I wanted to be a Superman, but I did it because I had to make sure that that person got home to their families, make sure that that man got home to his wife, make sure that that woman got home to her husband, and people got home to their families. I wasn't trying to be somebody somebody spectacular, but I had to make sure that everyone was safe, everyone was out of the building, and all of the proper law enforcement, first responders, they were able to get into the building easily and without any hesitation. And I'm thinking about that. A lot of times in this society that we live in, there's so much divisiveness, there's so much one about, race, one about ethnicity, one about gender, that we tend to feel that we forget that people are people and people need everyone. You don't look over someone's life that's going through a tragedy and say, well, because they have a certain color, because they have a certain gender, that they don't deserve, help. They don't deserve, assistance. But when I was there trying to make sure that everyone was off the plant, make sure that people was somewhere safe, I wasn't looking at race. I wasn't looking at anyone's color, anyone's gender, what they chose to, be, if they want to be a man or woman. But I had to make sure that everyone was safe, everyone was able to go home to their loved ones. And that's what it's all about. Because we're living in a time, in a day where there's so much divisiveness, there's so much worrying about, the Republicans against the Democrats, the black against the white, the gay against the straight, that we fail to realize that people are people and people needs people. That's why I wasn't really worrying about nothing else, but I got to make sure that you get home to your husband, you get home to your wife, you get home to your kids, because although I have kids, and there's nobody in this world that I love more than my kids, but I had to sacrifice my life. I had to sacrifice my kids, if their dad is going to get home, I sacrificed all of that to make sure that that man got home to his wife, that woman got home to her husband, that boy, that girl got home to their parents. It wasn't about nothing more than make sure that you're safe, make sure that you're off the premises, make sure that you can go home and sleep at nighttime. Make sure you don't have to fight with mentally things, but you was able to go home. And when I began to evacuate the building, when I began to, bring the emergency vehicles onto the scene, I wasn't thinking about nothing more than safety, safety, safety. Make sure people get home safe, and make sure that the first responders and law enforcement get there so that they can make sure that people are safe. So it wasn't about nothing that I did spectacular, but it was about love, because when you love people, when you love, not just people, when you love, it makes a difference in someone's life. They can feel when you love them, and they can feel when you don't love them. And right now, the people are hurting. People are going through a lot of pain. People are trying to find out, where will their next dime coming from? How will I take care of my families? How will I take care of my friends? How will I take care of my husband, my wife, my kids? How will I take care of that because of the situation that happened on August the 22nd? Now that they do not have a job, how will they take care of their families and stuff like that? But even in the midst of being, confused, in the midst of, I don't know where my next dime coming from, I'm grateful that we were able to get out of that building, get out of that explosion alive and safe. So it wasn't nothing great that I did, but I would do it again because, I love people, and I love and want to make sure that people are protected and people are safe. So, if even in the midst of what you're going through, turn aside or lay aside race, lay aside ethnicity, lay aside your own gender, whatever you decide to be in life. Lay all of that aside and realize that safety, life, and liberty is what's most important in our life. So, I would do it again because, it is all about making sure that people is able to go home to their family and loved ones. And, if you have any questions as to, Jesse, why did you do that? Or Jesse, how did you feel about this situation or that situation? You can always hit me up. You could, email me, or you could hit me up on comments here and actually, Jesse, why did you sacrifice your life for the betterment of 100 people, betterment of a whole community, betterment of the residents of the city of Roseland? Why did you sacrifice your life? And I would be happy to comment. I would be happy to give of my honest opinion and let you know this is why I did what I did. It was nothing more than, I love people, and I want to make sure that people were safe and people able to go home to their family and loved ones. So if you have any questions, just hit me up, and I will gladly respond to all the questions as long as it's respectful. I will answer those questions as much as I can. So just hit me up and give me a comment, leave me a comment, or whatever the case was, and I will gladly get back to you. So until this time, next time, just hit me up and ask any questions. So I want to say God bless you all, God bless you, and God bless you.